Check, check. This is a check to make sure that the sound works real good.
Yeah, my name is Oskari Häkkinen, and I'm the head of franchise development at Remedy Entertainment.
How did you guys get involved making Alan Wake? What was the sort of impetus like?
Well, I mean, first, if I start off by telling you a little bit about the premise of what is Alan Wake. So, Alan Wake he's a best-selling writer, but the guy hasn't managed to write anything in a couple of years, and that's brought a lot of problems in his life with his marriage and with his wife and with his work, and he's getting pressure from his fans and his agents. And in a hope to kind of gain back his creative flow and kind of save their marriage, his wife Alice takes him away to this idyllic small town called Bright Falls in Washington. But shortly upon arrival, she goes missing without a trace, and Wake finds himself trapped in this nightmare. Worst of all, his latest work, a thriller novel that he doesn't even remember writing, is now coming true before his very eyes, word for word. We're calling it a psychological action thriller. And what we're trying to do is give the players a heart-pounding thrill ride, and with that we're combining the mind of a psychological thriller with the body of a cinematic action game. And we came up with a concept of utilizing light and darkness throughout the story elements and through the gameplay mechanic. So Wake's enemies, they're covered in these shadows and protected by a dark presence that's possessed them, and as a player, before you can do any damage on them, you need to use a light source of some sort to remove this dark presence, which then makes them vulnerable to conventional weapons. And well, light is more important, in fact, because with a conventional weapon, the enemies can't be damaged at all. They're invulnerable to damage until that dark presence is removed. So the dark presence is protecting them completely. Now, this dark presence is taking over everything in its path, from vehicles to machines, as well as the locals, and turning them violently against Wake. So in Alan Wake, you never know what is going to become your enemy. The environment can turn against you, everything. So it's kind of a poltergeist effect, if you will. This hasn't really been seen before in video games, to kind of utilize the light the way that we are utilizing it. So there's different types of flashlights. There's bigger flashlights, smaller flashlights. So I mean, you have to have an escalation of action. But then we have the flare gun. Now the flare gun is kind of our
really cool.
It's phenomenal. So the flare gun is basically our version of the rocket launcher, if you like. So the flare gun is because it's a light source as well. It drains the
physical damage.
Right. So it drains the shadow shield and does the physical damage. So you don't need to separately drain the shadow shield and then shoot with a conventional weapon. Rather, that thing just blows everything away. And there's a lot of cinematic moments in Alan Wake. So these are parameters that are met under the hood. It's the engine that's determining it. But if an enemy's just about to hit you with an axe, for instance, and you manage to dodge at the right time, to give kind of a reward to the player, it activates a cinematic dodge and slows the game down, so you can see the axe just missing your head. And that makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck and really get you into the moment. It's been a 5-year process to get to where we are now. We're coming out on May 18th. I mean, one of the reasons why this took so long to make was that we came up with a concept of the light and darkness, and we knew that we wanted to utilize it in the story deeply. We had a kind of story angle of how we're going to utilize it, but we also had this gameplay mechanic, and we just thought this is it. This is where we need to go. When we looked out there to see if there was any engines that could do the type of things that we needed them to do using the light and dark mechanic, there wasn't anything that could do the things we needed. So we literally built the engine and all of the technology and tools ourselves in-house. So this engine is personally developed for this game, and you can't get a better match. We outsourced to orchestra in Halle in Germany. So we had the live orchestra perform with the live strings, and it's amazing when you play in the game and you feel the warmth of the live strings and the violins and the cellos. It really gets the hair standing up on the back of your neck. Yeah, it really does. And you can imagine, I mean, it really just gives the atmosphere when, if you're running through the forest on your own with just a flashlight and you start having the violin come in, it's, you can't describe it really, what it makes you feel. So for the hardcore gamers out there, they'll be really excited by the dynamic difficulty system that we've put in the game. So to keep you in that sweet spot of gaming, the engine on the fly is determining how well, or if you're not playing that well, or how badly you're playing. So if you're playing extremely well, the engine will pump up the difficulty to keep you in that sweet spot of gaming. However, if you're more of a recreational gamer and you're not playing that well and you die, it's not fun to die again and again and again. So it declines the difficulty to keep you again in that sweet spot. If you want to look for more of the story, there's these manuscript pages scattered around the world. There's over 100 of them, and these are exploration content that is optional to the player. The majority of the story is optional. Everyone will get the skeleton, of course, but if you choose to interact with these TVs and the manuscript pages, they're there for you to do so. Funny thing about the manuscript pages is when you read them, you know that they're going to come true. You just don't know where, when, or how. Alan Wake's going to be out on May 18th in the US, May 14th in Europe. We're really pleased with where it is right now, and you know, we wouldn't release it until we're completely happy, and finally we are happy. We feel that this is our masterpiece.